Good evening and welcome to your Sunday night edition of This Is Ibrox. Another weekend where Rangers have actually ruined things after that little break of last week winning a game. But we'll go through it. We'll go through the game, some quotes from Russell Martin, the protests afterwards, and then most importantly here, do we think he's going to go? And then who will replace him if so? Joined by JB and Hef, and we'll just cut straight to this one. I don't want to spend a great deal of time on the game itself because, we've gone through the game, we've had enough trauma today. But JB, if I start with yourself, just looking at the lineup, really, obviously we had sort of a familiarish team at this point. A couple of injury issues in terms of Makoma and Rothwell comes back in. But what did you think of the lineup for this afternoon?
Yeah, I think it was just consistent, wasn't it, with kind of what we've been seeing. There was no kind of shocks. I think everybody, to a man, probably just rolled their eyes when they seen Mikey Moore starting. I'm a big believer of players deserving an opportunity, maybe then go out and show, try and get a little bit of momentum that way, especially with things being so poor. But for him to come back into the starting 11, it doesn't say much for the lads who are sitting on that bench today. They must be god awful. If that young lad's getting a game ahead of them. And this isn't me saying that the young lad won't go on to have a really good career. He may very well do, but he's in the wrong movie at the moment. So yeah, but on the flip side, I also felt for him as well because he was put in there to be one of our main creators again. And at the moment, nothing's working for the kid. So I do feel sorry for him in that regard. But yeah, I think it was obviously Cornelius in at left back was forced, given Magoma, who's had a little bit of a drop off in recent weeks. Still showing flashes of his ability, but he's had a couple of really tough ones along with the rest of the team. The midfield, I think you probably could have drew names out of a hat in terms of who was in there. You knew someone was going to lead the line. I read this week that Chimiti does struggle on plastic pitches because of Achilles challenges.
Yeah.
Which is great considering how many games we are probably going to be playing on plastic pitches this season, because I think we're going to have 2 home and 2 away. Elite 4 away games in the bottom 6 going into the second half of the season. You think I'm joking? And then as I say, the wingers, the job was there for them to go out there and create, and neither created anything. So yeah, it was a tough 11. The 11, as I say, wasn't expecting mass shocks. I thought there's a couple he could have freshened it up to try and give a couple of opportunities to. The likes of Bajrami, I thought could have came in because he spoke quite well about him in the game prior to the Livingston game. Come on, every time Bajrami's come on, he looks as if he's got something about him. He's trying to show. By all accounts, there was an opportunity for him to go, and he did stay. What he say he wanted to stay and fight for his place in the window there, and he might be fighting for his place somewhere, but it's obviously not doing enough to get into a really poor 11. And then the other options on the bench were pretty weak. So yeah, no major shocks in the 11, and the players again let us down as well, alongside the manager, which I'm sure we're going to get to.
Yep, not the first time this season, that's been said sadly. Hef into the game itself. Again, my notes are pretty rough here, but I repeat the word, awful start. Second to every ball, lose every 50-50, too easy for the other team. It just started the same way as most domestic games have this season, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think I started taking notes as well, and then the first note I've got is 10-minute period. So there was nothing that significant. It was just 10-minute period where Sutter gives the ball away, Cornelius gives the ball away, and we can't get out our own half. So that summed up pretty much the first full 10 minutes, if not more than that. Then as soon as we get that disallowed goal, it seems as if the heads go down even further, and they go on a good 25-minute period where they just dominate. Like, we do not get out the box, can't string passes together. Like, the ball comes back to Sutter and he's just flying it up in the sky. Cornelius is trying to make a pass forward. The boy just comes in and cuts it straight from him, like 10-yard pass. And we talk about the tactics and the individuals of the player and everything else, but there just seems to be this. Like, they have ball carriers, they have players that wanted to get on the ball and run with it. And that's what leads to their second goal, is just somebody who goes, I'm going to have a go here. That's the problem, that even without going through the notes, because after that, it pretty much just says, great goal, Diamanda can't dribble. And then it's just like me just basically ranting as the game goes on, and then various texts to my mum to say what I should get my daughter for Christmas. That's how good a game it was. So no, not the one note that I had was that the boy number 22, Wilson, just seemed to absolutely cause no end of problems for us, and we had no answer for it. And I think it kind of begs the bigger question for us, is that do we have anybody in our team that can actually take a ball and carry it from our half to the opponent's half with any sort of credibility, or looking as if we're going to do anything with it? And to be honest, they had 3 or 4 players that just wanted to get on the ball and make a difference. And seeing years gone past, one each, even 1-0, they're not flying on attacking players. It's damage limitation, or it's we'll hold out for a draw here.
Yeah, time waste and all that kind of stuff kicked in, but it doesn't happen anymore, does it?
They're flinging on 4 attackers, or like 3 or 4 attackers to try and chase it because they sense a weakness. Now, if they sense a weakness, and that's Falkirk. Now, fair dues to John McGlynn. He's been known for that all through his years, as he isn't a sort of manager that's going to sit in and just play a low block and try and scrape a point. He's somebody that's going to go for it. But the manner at which that should be a newly promoted team versus a team that finished second last year and historically has won many, many titles, that should not be so easy for Falkirk to dominate that amount of the game. Like at 45% possession going into half time for Rangers. And you could argue, oh, well, they're the home team. Against Rangers or Celtic or whoever it is in the top half, they should be dominating against a team like Falkirk. And Falkirk made us look like amateurs today.
Yeah, likewise, my notes are very similar. It just Falkirk find themselves in a box time after time. It felt like any time I looked away and looked back at the screen, it was a Falkirk player running at us again, time and time again, like I say. JB, strangely, we did score the first goal. I'll give you the one positive note for this whole podcast, but I'll let you take that one. It's good play down the left. Rother and Gassama combining. That ball goes into Cornelius. Great assist from him, which you can tell he's a centre-back playing at a position. He's probably one of the few that gets maybe not pass marks today, but he was a bit threatening. He was all right. And a great assist, and Majowski tucked it away. I guess that's the one. Russell Martin will obviously point to it, but that's the one good moment from today anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there was a stat came up just before. I think it was that Falkirk had 16 crosses to our 0.
17 now.
A couple of minutes before, and I thought, and we had a little bit of a chuckle in the club because it was almost like, well, does that class as a cross? We only need one. One pleasing thing about the goal, because again, it's going to be quite a negative pod again, unfortunately. That is where I want to see my Rangers number 9. In between the defenders, ball across, and he's there for a tap-in. I made a comment to somebody the other week. I don't think Serial Des has scored a tap-in for us in two seasons. I genuinely don't think, I cannot think of one tap-in. Everyone was either he had to take a touch, or it was a good strike, or he's had to hold it up, or whatever. He didn't score tap-ins. It just wasn't a thing. One, because he probably didn't get himself into the positions, but 2, we don't create them type of chances normally. It just goes to show that it's a centre half who's playing left back who's had to do that for us, because our wingers don't seem to have that within their locker. It was a real simple ball between the last defender and the goalkeeper, and the centre forwards made the run for tap it in. That's the blueprint up in Scotland for me in terms of how you should be looking to score your goals, because that ball in between the defender and the last defender and the goal, it just creates carnage. It'll either be an own goal, or it'll be you'll get a corner, or one of the balls the ball will fall to your centre forward if you've got men in the box. So yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more of that. However, we didn't. That was it. That was kind of it, and I just thought, right, let's try and get that second, just to try and we could relax a little bit and then go into the international break. And then obviously then we could see scores coming in from around the country. And then you think, oh, there could be something here. Could this be a little bit of a swing? And then step up, Rangers almost said, hold me beer, I'll piss on your chips here, lads. And then the inevitable happened. But how many times this season have we started the game poorly, where teams have just come at us? We've rode it. Jack Butland, a couple of really good saves, and then we maybe then look to try and nick one. 9 times out, more often than not, we concede one at that point, and then we've got an uphill battle. But to score one, and then it was almost a case of job's done. And as we know in Scotland, the job's never done at 1-0 because teams are running through brick walls. One thing that sickens me about this Rangers team, and it has done for the few years, if you watch us out of possession, there is no interest from any player in a blue shirt to get close to the opposition, to be aggressive, to be nasty, to be up their arse, and then flip that every time we get the ball. And bang, there you go. There's a tackle. There's a challenge. There's a tight one. I'm going to nip in front of you. It's almost as if the blueprint to beat this Rangers team is work harder than them. And if you, which isn't very difficult, by the way, but if you work harder than this team, and then Sid's just touched on it there, every single second ball will fall for you if you work harder than the opposition. The amount of times the balls went wide and there was Rangers players were within 10, 15 yards of the opposition. And it's happened so many times this season. If I think about Motherwell away, Livingston away, Dundee at home, there's so many games where you go, we're holding on here. And when they scored that winner, I thought, right, there we go. We're going to go kitchen sinker. We never. It was almost a case of, I think there was a real resignation amongst the players today of, we can't do this again. We haven't got this in our locker to do it. And if anything, I was I was just waiting for Falkirk to get that chance, and the big boy Graham could have put it to bed, but and probably fast forward a wee bit. But the first half for me was just summed up our season. Albeit going in at half time with a goal, you thought, right, we'll run over these second half because they blew out their own arses, but that was it. So
yeah, I'm just bringing this comment up just now because it's similar to what we said before we even came on. We've done this very similar pod multiple times this season. We know it's the same thing.
I asked the question in the group chat earlier, can we not just repeat one of the pods and do a bit of AI editing and then just like don't have any comments popping up? But we were told no, we had to come on. But no, it's a pleasure to be here. But it's it's the same old, and something needs to change. Probably said that line.
That's the big thing just now, isn't it? Like, we know something has to change because there's so many people that they're not invested anymore. They don't care anymore. They're just sick of seeing the same thing week after week, and it's the slow start, it's the edgy performance, it's the players doing the same. Because that's the thing, I don't want to get away from the fact that the players are very much to blame in all this as well in terms of his performance. It's not just Russell Martin's the big bad guy, and once we get a new manager, it'll be fine. I generally don't deep down think that's true. I think the playing squad is a bit of a mess, and we'll come on to that later with some of Russell Martin's comments earlier. But Hef, you sort of touched on it already. Their goal, it's a hard one because it's a decent strike. I get that. It's deflected, so Bolton can't do too much. But the boy sort of shoves off Diomande, gets 3, 4, 5 touches to then line himself up for a shot. It's just so easy yet again. And again, it felt a bit inevitable they were going to score. I thought it'd be later. I thought it'd be Scott Arfield coming on that was the kind of storyline being written that Arfield would come on and ruin it for us. But yeah, it's a good goal, but it's just too easy, isn't it?
I think like what JB says is on the money. That resignation just seemed as if it was like, it just seemed as if at that point that it was like, yeah, they're going to score, aren't they? Like from the fans' point of view. But even like it was like a total lethargic performance that even they were like, oh, I really hope they don't score. There didn't seem to be like an initiative to just go and take the game by the scruff of the neck and just say, right, let's move on here. Let's kick on. Let's get a second goal, or let's tighten up. It was neither of those things. What it was just a mismatch of hitting and hoping, and like we've said many times, throwing stuff at the wall and seeing whatever works. And maybe Bajrami will have a good game. We'll chuck him on, and just seemed to be like it was as if it was like sitting behind that iPad or whatever it was, the laptop, just rolling a dice, just going, oh right, there's Bajrami. On you can come on next. There seemed to be no. Even when we talk about like the starting 11, and I know that everybody will be saying the same thing, is no sign of Curtis. Now, that could be injury, we don't know. But, I mean, if a boy's not going to get a chance after that amount of games and that amount of time to come on and put in a performance against Falkirk away, a game that we should be putting to bed in the first half and seeing out for the second half, giving these young boys a chance. The problem that we are in just now is that we have to put our best 11 on the park, or at least the best 11 on paper. We have to put the best 11 on the park every single game because we have no confidence, not even in the starting 11, but in the surrounding squad to actually go out and get us a result. So Martin can't take a risk and put on Chermiti and during the European midweek game, an £8 million striker, because, we don't know if he's ready yet. That is the sort of pattern that is just becoming so frustrating. And I know, quoting Martin, frustrating, everything else, but it's that idea of like, can we just put on a player that we think is going to play well? Can we not get away with this idea of we're putting on a player because he cost £8 million, or we're putting on a player because we've got him on loan from Tottenham, or you know what I mean? There needs to be something that we can say, actually, do you know what? Like he says, Barron, he had a really great performance, so therefore we've put him in today. I've actually not been really good. I should have put him in a wee bit earlier. You think, well, we're now, 9 games in? 8 or 9 games in? And
70 games, but yeah, we've always had, 15 or so now?
And he's still not found out of that pool of midfielders who's best at what and when. Like, given the fact that Asgard and Rothwell he brought in, whether or not it was Thelwell or not, I think Rothwell was his boy. I think that was definitely one that was his. That was a come on in here, wee man. I'll get you a job. And he's not done it again today. It just seemed as if it seemed like, I know what you're saying is that thing of it. It definitely is the players, but in games like Falkirk, like I've said in previous pods before, is we need a Scottish team, or we need a team that's got the mentality to go out and, like JB said, run quicker, work harder, and do the dirty work. And in years gone past, we've had that. We've had a domestic team to play in those kind of games. And then when we've got better technical teams that we're playing against, whether that's domestically or in Europe, we've had better technical players to beat these teams, or at least compete. We've not got a good enough technical team to compete against those good teams that are actually trying to play football, and we've not got a strong enough team mentally or physically to compete against the ones lower down the league. Yep. I think we probably got off with one today. That was Falkirk's win. I don't even think a one each flatters us. It doesn't even flatter them. That's how sad it is.
Yeah. If we'd won that game, it'd have been a steal, much the same as Livingston was last week. It's just the same pattern. And again, it's quite a good point you make with the Scottish thing, because I think Connor Barron's the only one today that is diving into tackles. He is challenging, and Barron's quite limited in what he can do. Obviously, he's not the most technical player, but he will fight for you. But if you've got one guy doing that in a midfield against 3 guys that are all doing it in Falkirk team, then it's only going to end one way. I've got a couple of notes for the end of the game, JB, but nothing too exciting. As Hef was saying, it was just that case of, you're a forward-thinking midfielder, you're a striker, you get on and try something, let's put you there. The game just lost all control. Like we could have easily lost, as we said as well, but I didn't really get that feeling today that we were going to nick a winner. We had sort of did at Livingston at least, getting late corners, a late pressure was building. We didn't get that today at all.
No, not at all. It didn't. It almost felt as if the belief was just kind of sucked out the team. As I said earlier, it was as if this was just one game too far where we weren't going to be able to do something late on. There was kind of, I didn't see any belief. I didn't see, if anything, I seen us getting deeper. I'm sure it was 1-1, and we had a throw in the far right hand side, and it ended up back with Butland. I mean, come on. I think
there was one today, so I jump in, but Tav took 45 seconds to take a throw in. 1-1. The ball goes out, and it's wait for Tav to jog over, goes there, cleans the ball a little bit, organises. Just like, this is 40 odd seconds. That's time. Get the ball in play, get going. And it's not just a Tav hate, nothing like that.
No.
It's just, that's the mentality of this squad. It's like, we'll be fine. Let's just plod through. We're 1-0 up. We'll probably win it. No, you won't. Like, the mentality is so bad. I don't want to become Russell Martin talking about mentality suddenly, but it really is a problem at the club.
Yeah, no, it is. It's been a problem for years. I say this isn't the day to talk about James Tavernier and the stuff that he doesn't bring as a captain on the pitch and stuff. But I think it's you could, to be fair, I'm not going to say to be fair to Martin. You touched on it earlier. We could scattergun this whole Rangers squad. You could go through every single one of them at the moment. Probably the only one, to be fair, probably would be Butland, who's probably the only one who's kind of really standing up and kind of. I mean, I don't know whether it was true or not, but by all accounts, Martin told Butland to get back, and Butland just kept going. He was
Looked
waving
that way.
him back.
Yeah.
He was waving him backward, and you seen him kind of shaking his head as if to go, "Well, just do what you want then." But it then did make me laugh. We then took the set piece and then tried to hit Gassama in the air, 1-on-1 with the fullback. So yeah, that one was worked on in training. But it was there was nothing there. As I say, there was no fight. I guess you say against Livingston, it was almost a case of it's a matter of when rather than if. We just needed to make sure that we get that one chance, and when we got it, fell to Max Aarons, and he was clinical. But the whole thing, there's nobody there that you go and give me it. I'll give it here. I'm going to do something here. I'm going to try and win it for us. It feels to me as if there's a lot of players there that just don't care. Which is horrifying as a fan, because you want your players to be kind of run through brick walls for you.
I think it's that they don't care though, or that they don't. I don't want to say get it, because that's just like the staunch term here. Like, oh, they don't get it, but you do have to win here. Like a draw draw's a loss, you know.
Yeah. That's
the clubs they came from. It's that same thing there.
And it mightn't be within them. It mightn't be within them to care. Do you know what I mean? As in, they're not playing as individuals. They're not playing as a team. They're just not playing. It's when the chips are down, you can kind of see that if that was a team, say that performance we put in today was against the better opposition. I said to one of the guys in the club today, Real Madrid couldn't have opened us up more today than what Falkirk did in that first half. They were just at will, just running past us. Do you know what I mean? And they were hitting the fullbacks. They were going through the middle. People talk about this myth. I think it's a myth in Scotland. The low block. I'm not having it. Certainly in the last 2-3 years, no team has set up against Rangers in a low block. Why would they? Why would they? Do you know what I mean? It's like the low block is not a thing anymore, and like we just need to kind of get this out of our heads, because you see people saying, "Oh, they've doubled up on Gassama, they've doubled up on Antman." They're not. They're leaving them 1-on-1, because you know what? They're not going past them, and they know that the players are just going to try and cut inside. So what they're doing is they're just making the centre of the pitch really stuffy, and then when they've got the ball, they're breaking wide, because our style of play isn't to go wide. You see it with Antman. Antman, I've said this on every pod since the lad signed, likes to go outside wide, goes wide, go wide. He's starting to go back inside onto his left foot that he has not got. You know, and you're like, go on your right. There was a couple of times when he come on, he did go down the right. He got a couple of half decent crosses in, and you thought, right, just keep doing that, because
I think that's why he's not starting. To be honest, I think that it's because he does like naturally try to go wide right, and Mikey Miller's the one that's like cutting inside, even though there's no fullback bombing on. Like Tav also cuts inside. Like I'm no expert in tactics, but that's just stupid. You're leaving a whole area of the pitch with no one.
Our first shot, I think, in the first half was Tav coming in from the left centre mid position for a half volley just past the post, and you're like, what? I think the commentator said, I don't know what he's doing there. I don't know what he's doing there. Do you know what I mean? His best ability is bombing down the right hand side, and as Roberts just touched on, then it could have been genuinely 2s, 3s, and 4s at half time. And how many times have we said that this season? First half against Motherwell was okay. Dundee could have been 2, 3, and 4. Panathinaikos that was a doing in the first half. Panathinaikos, and we managed to somehow ride through it. I still maintain Pilsen is the only game where we've shown, I would say, probably 60 minutes of consecutive really good football. Now, I'm not being funny. I genuinely think you could get you could get somebody off the street, or just say, right, we're not going to have any management. We're just going to pick names out of a hat, out of positions. And I genuinely think we'd get more than a 60-minute performance out of a team. It's horrendous. And back to the point earlier in regards to the players are cowards. And I've said this for years.
Yep.
As soon as they step over that line, in Europe, we've got away with it over the years, because I think they've been playing for themselves in European competitions, because they know that that's the platform. If I play well here, I might get a decent move out of this, and a few good players have. When it comes to the domestic games, they don't give a jot. They don't run through brick walls. They don't throw any nasty challenges in, as if you don't see any frustration from them. You just see them just kind of looking blank expressions, and it's hands up in the air as if to go poor old me again.
Today, there's the perfect example where it's quite late in the game. and Gassama's getting kind of kicked a bit, and Brian Graham comes on and takes a volley at him, misses him. Don't get me wrong. He just basically goes for him. There's like 5 Rangers players there, and no one thinks, I'm going to shove him, or what you doing to Gassama. There's none of that. It's just, we got the kick. Good, put the ball down and stuff.
There's no fight, and I know we'll get to it in a minute, but I'll just say the point now, just to kind of have it right. I'm not having, if that was a Steven Gerrard, an Alex McLeish, a Walter Smith sitting in that dugout, that they wouldn't be saying, I'm not having my teams get bullied the way that these teams are getting bullied today. We don't need a tactician in Scottish football. I can't recall any tacticians that's come to Scotland and done really well. What we need is a figurehead, somebody that can go into the club and do all of the shit, somebody who can put the pressure on the SFA, put the pressure on the referees, motivate the team, represent the club in a really good way on and off the pitch. And then you get really good coaches that sit behind them, and then they're the people that do the dirty work. Now, the only one that's probably over the years, that's probably been the exception to the rule, would probably be Postecoglou in recent years, because he did definitely bring an absolute different style. But you know what he done? He stripped it back to basics, which was run harder than the opposition, work harder than the opposition, get stuck in, and move the ball at pace. What we've done, we've recruited a cabbage who, they'll be cropping that for TikTok, and it's been a cabbage who wants to play the ball slowly, doesn't want the players to be aggressive, and doesn't want to create and when a team that's not creating chances. So this just can't go on. It's not going to work, and I feel as if we're all, everybody is in the same boat. If we could see glimpses, I think we'd grab onto the glimpses with both hands as a fan base at the moment and go, right, he's here, we're stuck with him. We'll grab onto that. But it's almost a case of there's nothing there to grab on. If we'd have won 3-4-0 today, quite comfortable, 3 or 4 really good goals, we'd have got into the international break, still wanting rid of him. But you're kind of going, right, okay, let's dust ourselves down and go again in a couple of weeks. But instead, we're going into the international break just absolutely fucking gutted. I think the phrase that was used in the hotel in where were they in midweek? Man's gone blank. In Austria, Stingrat was scunnered. I think that was the phrase that the fan used, and that is exactly how everybody's feeling. And it's the familiar feeling, and it's the acceptance that this is kind of where it's going, and it's not good. It's not good at all.
It's not. Just a wee quick comment there that's come in. Where's Craig? Craig will be back midweek. Don't worry, Craig's not going anywhere. We've still got Craig lingering about. He will be back.
Craig's back. Craig's back on Russell Martin. No joking.
Jesus.
Craig's getting deference. That's why he's not on.
Craig.
That's why he's not on.
Craig's ego.
Sorry, Craig.
No, he definitely is not. He's not. Moving on to Russell Martin's quotes, Hef. These are tough to get through, so bear with us, everyone. And by all means, keep the comments coming. They're flying in as expected, so that's great to see. Russell Martin said he was frustrated. It was a difficult pitch, difficult conditions. Just absolute excuses straight away. The longer the game went on, he felt we had more control. Again, okay. They were becoming less of a threat as the game went on. And the only way they would score was a goal like the goal that they scored. Basically meaning it had to be a worldie for it to go in. Now, that to me is absolute madness. Like, that's not the game I watched today. Same idea as it's been sort of a few weekends in a row now. It's not what we're seeing in front of us, is it?
No. And that idea of being frustrated is, I mean, it's just a total cop-out. It's just not even answering, well, what is it that you actually... Yeah. Do you know the thing I want to see is I want to see him saying, I went in there and I've just laid it out, you know, or at least say, this is what I've said. We didn't run hard enough. We didn't work hard enough. Now, I know he did touch on that, and I know that he's saying that it's a lack of mentality and everything else, and he said it in every bit of interviews that he's actually done. It's been lack of mentality, he's frustrated, everything else. It's see when he's doing the press conferences and he's got the big smile on his face, and he's sitting there. It's just a pure contempt. Now, I've never been one for like what you said earlier on, he just doesn't get it parade or anything like that or anything. But see that idea of like, he just last week he said he walked off, Right, and I know that you've asked about the comments that he's made, but I'm raging now. He asked, the reason that he said he walked off last week was to protect the players. He said, I didn't want to get in the way of them enjoying that win because they deserved that win because they worked really hard for each other, and all they would have done was turn round and shouted for me and booed me, and that's not fair on the players. What was his excuse today? They were one each, and he just walked straight down the tunnel. He's an JB. It's not just the players; it's everybody. And I know you agree, but that is pathetic to not even. And I know that the fans don't want it. I know that the fans at Falkirk are sitting going, "Get away! I do not want you anywhere near me." But have a bit of accountability to go up. But it's just that way. I go, nah, no bother. They'll just moan at me. They'll just boo as if they don't have the right to. Now everything else that's happened after, I know that you're going to talk about that in a minute anyway. But the comments of it's a bad pitch, it's bad conditions. The whole country has been affected by a storm. Other teams that are expected to win go on and expect to win. Yeah. Aberdeen go on and score 4, and for the first league goal, and then go on, because that's the sign of a team that can have a bit of failure at the start of the season, take on some advice, and maybe push on. Right? I mean, I know it's not great, but against Dundee at home, you would expect them to win anyway. But again, showing a bit of progress. Hearts go on, they score a last-minute winner. They go on and score a last-minute winner. And what do? We blame the pitch. We blame the conditions at which both teams have to play in, by the way. The pitch situation I get because they train on it and stuff like that they are more used to it. But you can't blame the pitch when players can't pass 10 yards to each other. And if you are going to blame the pitch, stop trying to play it about at the back and start to play a bit more direct and play it into the channels and let players run on. If the bounce is hard to judge, play it up in the air a bit more. You know, you've got Chermiti and Miofsky, who are both playing at some point, both 6 foot plus. Get it to actually challenge in the air and maybe drop it down and play onto the wingers. Nothing, absolutely nothing of any sort of, I wouldn't even say inventiveness, but there's no creativity, there's nothing. And see, even in a game like today, what you're hoping on is that somebody can just put their foot on the ball and just ping a pass right over a diag right over the back line, have Gassama run onto it, play it in, simple pass, like what we saw with the goal. I know that that's not what that was, but a simple pass into a dangerous area, and oh my God, there's a striker there who can actually put the ball in the back of the net. Who'd have thought it, that we can play a pass into a dangerous area and there'll be a big player there who can just put it in the back of the net, instead of playing it around the back four for 35 minutes throughout a half and maybe touching into their half. The comments about the goal having to be a worldie, that's not a worldie. It's a fine shot from 30 yards or so that blindsides Jack Butland because Suter is standing right in front of him. And it's not a deflection, really. It's not really changed the path of the ball that much. It's maybe lofted it a little bit, but it's going there or thereabouts. I just think it's been, Butland doesn't expect him to have the shot, and he's blindsided by Suter, and it happens. You know what I mean? It happens. But the problem that we have is he's saying that that's the only goal that could have happened. Falkirk, and it's the same as Livingston that I said last week. Had Falkirk had a better striker or somebody that could finish the ball, it wasn't even that they had how many other shots on target. How many times did they have the ball flash across the box and smash it off each other or off our defenders just by chance of being there? Yep. If they had something a bit more clinical in there, they would have absolutely battered us today. And it's not even like a what-if kind of scenario. That would have happened. They were all over us. And just like Livingston, we made them look really, really good today because the players that they have who had some sort of inventiveness or some sort of flair to go and actually try it, in other games against us in the past, maybe those players kind of shy away. They loved it today. They smelt blood and they were going for it, and they were taking on players for fun, creating energy, putting in the ball into places that, I mean, we weren't doing for a start. For him to say that they're scoring goals, it had to be that sort of goal that they scored. They could have picked 5 or 6 other chances to bury us, and it was just so happened that it was that one that was a wee bit magic that kind of paid off for them. But nah, I'm not buying that. believe it or not, I'm not buying Russell Martin's comments from this evening or any other evening or
Colour
any
me
other
shocked.
interview he's
Wow.
done.
Didn't see that coming. There is more comments. Don't worry, JB, you can have some as well. This one a little bit longer, but I hear everyone saying all the time, you just have to win, but you also have to have a way to win and a way to learn and grow and develop. You can't just win sustainably, in my opinion. You can't just win. Also, you can't just win if you don't have a team of seasoned men with thousands of games under their belt collectively that no one understands. We haven't got that. Few things that I'll chip in with straight away there. You can just win. That's one thing. And the seasoned men thing, like the transfer window shut, the transfers wasn't a surprise to close kind of thing. If we weren't happy with not having seasoned men in the building, surely something should have been done rather than spending a big chunk of that on another inexperienced man to come in up front. Like it just doesn't make sense at all, does it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we'll probably refer back to this throughout the whole season. We could have had Cherney, Shankland, and Seema as our front line today for less than what we've paid for the boy from Everton. And again, and when you talk about seasoned men, okay, well, there's a 27-year-old. There's a Shankland now 31, 32,
Yep.
and Seema, who's still young but still played a lot of football.
He's been about. He's got experience.
Yeah. So again,
Did it up here.
Yeah, did it up here. It's proved they could do it up here, and I think we'll probably go on to have a really good career. So again, the players were out there. There's plenty of players are out there. The one player who has brought in with all of this experience is his boy Rothwell, and he stripped over his arse. We've had loads of players that have come up the road with loads of experience. Your Joey Bartons, your Philip Senderosses, your Russell Martins. Does it remember he played for us? The list kind of goes on of players that have come up in and have been absolutely awful. So yeah, that's a little bit of a cop out in terms of that. I agree with you, and I said the same when I heard the interview. He said you can't just win games. Yes, you can. Just look at Liverpool, for example. Other than the last probably couple of weeks, they've played to the 97th minute, the 12th minute. A few away at Newcastle the other week, they found ways to win, and that's what teams do. Everton, by all accounts, were battered today for 90 minutes, found a way to win, and then that's the difference. You've got to find ways to win games of football, as Hef touched on earlier. And this team just haven't got that ability or the hunger or the desire or the management style to do that. If this team was creating, I said again earlier, if this team was creating chance after chance after chance and we weren't winning, you would go, the players maybe aren't good enough or we're not signing enough clinical players. Then yeah, you could say that. Harry Kane would be on 2, 3s and 4s goals for us this season if he played for us. Potentially the best finisher in the world, because we don't create chances. How many chances this season you go should have scored that? You're on single digits of chances where you go he should have scored. Whereas you think of years gone by, we've been critical because Des has missed nine against Dundee away last year. No one's missing 9 in this team. It will not one individual. Never mind the team. Des has missed more against Dundee than this team have missed in the first 16 games. That just goes to show how much we're starving our forwards of actually creating anything at all. And
that's a really good point. Just to again interrupt, but this is so like to what I was going to talk about. Chris Boyd commenting the fact that we haven't played the tricky venues yet. We've played the lower half of the league. I
was just about to say that, because you think that team to that poor Falkirk. I mean, that poor Falkirk team today, and no disrespect to them, they are where they are. There's a reason why they came up from the Championship last season, and they're sitting where they're sitting in the league table. But Hearts are gonna be licking the lips when we go there. Celtic, they've got their own problems, but again, that could be an absolute doing if they're in the move, because I don't think we've got the players that are going to stand up for that. They'll shake the bed like they did in Bruges away. Where else haven't we been? Dundee United, I don't think we've been there, have we? Hibs, we haven't been there. Kilmarnock, Aberdeen. Do you know what I mean? And like these are the tricky games. Whereas the places we've been, your St Mirrens, your Motherwells, your Dundees, your Livingstons, We haven't been to Dundee, sorry, Falkirks. These are your gimmies. And you could say the same for some of the home fixtures as well. We had a really good set of fixtures to start us off and made an absolute arse of it. So yeah, we've got, as I say, it's back to the point now. We need to start going into these games better drilled than what we are, because it could get embarrassing. And I joked earlier about finishing in the top 6, and it's all right saying, "Oh no, don't be daft. It'll be thingo." All it takes is for Hearts, Celtic, Hibs to go on a little run of each of them winning 4 or 5 games, and they're going to be out of reach. All of a sudden, you're relying on other teams to do you favours going into the second half of the season. And that's me taking into account we haven't gone to all of these difficult grounds yet. So once we go to all of these difficult grounds, and are we going to is there an assumption here that we're going to pick up more points than what we've picked up so far? Because I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing anything that is going to suggest that this is going to change anytime soon. So it needs a drastic change, and the only way that can happen is by changing I think we need to change the leadership of the club, but the first thing that is within our gift is to change the leadership of the management team, because the players are gone. The players have well and truly chucked it. As much as we had a last minute goal last week, that wasn't a sign for me that the players were actually giving everything for the manager. Far from it. The players just look absolutely scunnered with it all as well. And at the end of the day, they were probably playing for their own bit of pride last week against Livingston, because they must have been looking at this going, some of these lads have played in Premier Leagues, they played in the Championship, they played in European competitions, and they're going, we're playing against Livingston here. Do you know what I mean? And look at the state of it. And yeah, they just haven't been able to maintain it at all. So it's I think I said this last week. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks ahead. But thank Christ there's an thank Christ. My 2 highlights of the season of the international break coming. And I said to the wife earlier, I said the only good thing is Rangers can't ruin the next 2 weeks, but they're not going to sack him, so that will be their way of getting me back, of saying, we can ruin this for you. But yeah, I'm dreading that Dundee United game in 2 weeks.
Yep. Hef, there was quite a lot after the game, of course. There was the protest in the game, the chants, as we've come to expect, which is again part of the Rangers match day experience at this point. But there was fans blocking the team bus in. There's a video going about now of Russell Martin getting escorted out a back exit away in a taxi. Again, Patrick Stewart, Kevin Thewell are at the game today. They see all this. They do have to act now, surely, right? I mean, we've been saying it for weeks. They have to sack him. He has to go. But those protests are just going to get more common. I was going to say more voices will join it, but everyone's pretty unanimous at this point anyway. But for the good of the club, that decision has to be made, right?
I think so, and I think you touched on that. The comments that were made in the hotel and Sturmgrass, and I think the fact that you touched on, I think it might have been you touched on this on a previous pod, JB, but that idea of like we're so involved with like the club that it sometimes comes as a kind of a deficit to us as fans, because we know all the board members and stuff like that. Like, how many times would a team of our kind of size have fans staying in the same hotels or in the similar hotel to the club, like the club officials, and officials just walk by and they don't really know necessarily who's who at that level. Do you know what I mean? Whereas we're able to actually look, that's Patrick Stewart, that's Kevin Thewell, here's exactly what they do or don't do, and we're going to go and chin them on it. The fact that that's happening and it's becoming a kind of face-to-face, it's almost kind of breaking that fourth wall of like, oh no, we actually can go and confront these people, I think sets a really dangerous precedence that needs addressed. I think people aren't just getting angry now about the fact that their football team isn't winning. People are getting angry that they've spent thousands and thousands of pounds going to support their team, not even just away to Falkirk, away to Austria and everywhere else that they've been all across Europe, to just be met with utter contempt. Again, I keep saying that, but that's what it is that, well, who else should we have? They go, no,
that's madness.
not.
That's
not what it is. Like, that's not how you treat people. You say, even I think Thelwell probably gets a bit of credit because at least he's saying, like, listen, we get it, you're annoyed, like, we can't solve it tonight, right? And I think that's the problem is people want, right, well, okay, mate, then you're right in what you've said, we'll go and sack Martin now, as if it's Thelwell's decision. But for Patrick Stewart to come out and say that, I think it's just a massive slap in the face and another sign that none of them really actually care about the fans that actually go out and do stuff like this and go and sit and take time out of their day to go and watch it. People looking for tickets today on Facebook right up until like 12 o'clock saying, needing spares, got spares. You're thinking, wow, like in such a terrible time, there's still people desperate to go and watch it, whether or not they've got some sort of sick fetish that I'm unaware of, that they're just desperate to feel horrible every Sunday. But
don't we all?
I think I'm developing it anyway, whether I wanted it or not. But I've got this like sick feeling that it's just going to keep going and going and going. But the idea that it's now, I mean, what stage does it get to? I mean, ideally they could have blocked the bus before the game. That would have saved us all a couple of hours. But to block the team out and actually becoming that face-to-face interaction, does he then say, like a kind of, obviously we don't know the ins and outs of the Stuart Kettlewell incident for last year, but is there a point in which Russell Martin says, do you know what? Nah, I've had enough? Because that was his comment that kind of stuck with me at the end of that press conference as he turns around and says, oh, well, I've never failed, I've never walked away from anything in my life and I've done pretty well so far. Now, I mean, it's easy for me to say who's sitting in my house commenting on the game, but he didn't have an incredible career playing. Obviously, he played lots and lots of games for pretty decent clubs, including in the Premier League, but he has not had a successful managerial career. This inflated ego is madness. That he actually thinks he is a good manager based off absolutely nothing. And if we aren't, JB's shaking his head, he isn't going to walk away. But I don't know how long it takes for them to actually make the call and say, do you know what, enough's enough? Because is it going to take something really quite dangerous to have happened for like something like today where people are starting to have more face-to-face interactions with these officials? Because I think when that happens, it really does, then it begins to split them. You see that when the Union Bears start to protest and stuff like that, and albeit everybody's entitled to do whatever it is they feel that they want to do, but when they start to protest, some people are totally against it and some people are really for it. And whether you're in the club deck and you're one of these opinions, you start to have that conversation with the people about you, and it does kind of cause that toxic atmosphere of, well, I actually think they're right, no, they're wrong, you shouldn't. Whatever side of the fence that you sit on, it takes away from the fact that what you're actually annoyed at is the manager and the board and everything else that's going on and the players, and it makes us all kind of fight with each other, and that's when it gets nasty, and that's when it kind of sours, like what you said, as you're dreading Dundee United in the 18th, and that is like the only thing that I'm like, I've got all these European games that I've bought tickets for, and normally I'd be sitting going, oh, I better sort out childcare so that I can get to the games and everything else, and I'm sitting going, can I really face that? You know, it's hard. Rangers v Roma, and I'm sitting going, I don't know. And actually, obviously, I do want to go, and because it's going to be a big game and stuff like that, and I want to support the team, but it's that added, can I really justify the bus? Can I really justify the going and getting a programme? Can I justify doing all these
when it's
things?
that toxic, you know what you're walking into, kind of thing. Yeah.
It's sad. And I said that, I messaged my brother during the game, and I said to him, I was like, this is the first time that I've ever felt like that deflated, that I'm sitting going, I kind of don't want to win today. Like, I kind of don't want us to get a last minute winner. And not from the point of view of, oh, I want to see the team do badly, obviously, but that kind of way of, I just don't want another paper over the cracks thing. I think enough is enough. And and it's took me a while, because that really could have came 2 or 3 weeks ago, to be honest. But I have had in my head, I was like, nah, I never ever want to say that I want to see Rangers not win. That's ridiculous. in any circumstance that is ridiculous. But nah, I think I'm kind of there until Martin's there. If we go out and win 3-4-0, as JB said, and we're coasting, then obviously I don't go, come on, Falkirk, get 4 back here. I'm reaching at the team. But when it's so tight like that, and you're sitting going, this is it, isn't it? Like, we're going to lose or we're going to draw here. There was no part of me that was like, come on, Rangers, up the park and get a goal. I was just like, nah, see this end and have another black mark on his mark, which is horrible.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're the only one. I think that's getting quite a common thing. JB, that does lead me into who could replace Martin. Now, right now, we're 9 points behind Celtic. We're 11 behind Hearts. At one point today, it was 4 behind Celtic for a little minute where things looked quite nice, but, that Rangers kicked in. And only Aberdeen and St Mirren have scored less than us so far in the league this season. Looking at if we do get a new manager in, I was touching on this before with you. The next run of fixtures for us is Dundee United, like we've mentioned. Then it's Brann in the Europa League, Kilmarnock, Hibs, Aberdeen away, and then Celtic in the League Cup semi-final. That is a brutal run of fixtures for any new manager, but who are you looking at in terms of wanting to replace him? I think I know your main one, but I'd like to talk us through a couple of options.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I do maintain my point there, especially where we are as well. It's going to need to be a figurehead appointment. And again, back to my point earlier, it needs to be someone that we go, he's the most important person in this club, and he's going to be the one that's be going out to front it. He's going to be the one that is going to unite the fans. He's going to be the one that kind of does everything. I don't, as much as I would like to see it, I don't think we should be going down the route of trying to get a head coach. Do you know, like, I think we've kind of tried that. You're then asking a coach to come in and under the circumstances with a playing squad that is absolutely on the floor. So it's going to need to be somebody with a bit of experience, but I definitely want somebody in there who is a winner at heart. I do think Russell Martin's a winner at heart. I'm not saying he doesn't want to win, but you can almost see there's an acceptance that we are where we are.
What was that quote last? Was it 2 weeks ago? It's not the end of the world when we drew a game.
It is. Yes, it is. When people are traveling thousands of miles and spending thousands of pounds of money, it is the end of the world for them. There's people up there that aren't taking the family on holiday to make sure that they can afford to take the kids to games.
Yep.
And it's that important. It is life. It'll dictate to so many people's moods throughout the week. It has that much of an impact, and I think a lot of people have underestimated that big time. And because there's people who made the comments about, oh, they won't sack him because they never sacked anyone at Leeds. They kind of give them the time and space. Leeds has been a basket case that haven't won anything for a number of years. Massive club, but they've probably got into that rut of it's just another manager, it's just another manager, it's just another owner, it's another owner. We're not conditioned like that. We will be if we continue on the form that we're going, because we're kind of not getting that feeling anymore of I used to have sleepless nights after a Rangers defeat. I don't anymore, because it's almost a case of it's going to happen again shortly. Whereas, and I'm not shocked by defeats. I was walking back from the club earlier and I was sitting there and I was thinking, I'm not shocked. I'm not even frustrated anymore by it. I'm just it's just gone. It's just apathy. So, but in terms of your question, I think the names that are getting kind of banded about, your Sean Dyches, your Gerrards, Danny Roll, as I touched on earlier, they're kind of the ones. And then I know Kieran's a massive fan of Kevin Muscat, isn't he? So whether we'll get him on to come on to do a special on that. But in terms of the one that's kind of jumping off the page for me, I think it is Gerrard. And this isn't me saying, he's going to come and he's going to be a fantastic manager. He's going to come and he's going to get us playing this great football. Let's have it right. He wasn't great first time round. There's no escaping that. Some really poor performances, especially in the cup competitions. We had a massive chance to finish that 55 season with a treble, and we never. Some really poor performances in big games. One thing's for certain, though. I think he will unite the fans quite quickly. I think he's very cute in the fact that he'll say the right things. He'll wear a suit. he will do the things that need to be done, and you laugh, but he'll do the things that he needs to
It's
do
just standards.
to get the club united. And I think it's something like that we need with a really good coaching team underneath him. Gary Mack type. I tell you, and I've said this to my dad earlier on, I wouldn't be adverse against it. The boy, not sure if he's at a club now, but Neil Critchley, bringing him in as a first team coach under Gerrard wouldn't be the worst thing, because he was identified by Tony Bloom as being using Hart as a stepping stone to go to Brighton. He was really well thought of. He was well thought of in the Liverpool setup, but just doesn't seem to be able to do that man management piece. So bringing him in and straight away, and then bring in an ex-player to have kicking around the club, the likes of a Defoe or a Stephen Davis type, then all of a sudden, then you go, right, okay, there's something there. There's people in there that genuinely care, and they'll be hurting as much as what we're hurting if we were to get beat. However, I think the only challenge with that is, I think it's a root and branch. The family have all moved over to Saudi. Is he then going to be bringing the whole family back? They've just had a grandchild go into the family. Again, is that going to be too much upheaval for him? He doesn't need it financially. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't need it. He will probably know that this is going to be his last job.
Does he need it, but in a way, because obviously finances aside, absolutely not. But I more mean like from his own sense, because where else does he go now? I don't think he gets a Premier League job. There's a few comments saying about how he at Villa failed in Saudi. I don't know how harsh failed in Saudi is, but didn't do great in Saudi from the outside. And he maybe needs a club like us to win things and get his own stock. I don't know how important that is to him, but that's the one thing he might sway him.
It just depends on where he wants to go with his career. He could go and try and do the championship thing and see how that works for him. I just think it's if there was an obvious candidate out there, I'd kind of be going for that. Your other options is to go for a steady set of hands, someone like a Sean Dyche. I've seen Rafa Benitez's name mentioned in the comments, which does give me shivers as somebody that is that likes to see the blue side of Everton done well. He is a nasty individual, a nasty man, and not something we don't want him or his characters, any character like that, anywhere near our football club. I know that firsthand. So anyone who suggests him, keep him well out the way. He will just create division within throughout the whole club. That's what he does. He comes in and he shows that he's the big man. He'll want to bring a load of Spanish coaches in with him. He'll want to change the diet plans and all of that. So don't be taking the monster much off the lads. But yeah, and then the other one, as I said earlier, was your Kevin Muscat, who, as our very own Kieran said, doesn't get linked with anyone else other than us. And I do like a lot of what I read about Kevin Muscat, and I like a lot about what he does and his style of play. And he's a bit of a nasty bastard as well, which I think we've been missing for a wee while. And then the other one is sorry, I said that was the last one. The other one, a little bit close to home, would be a Stephen Robinson. Or a Derek McInnes. Derek McInnes won't be leaving Hearts in a hurry, so I wouldn't hang my hat on that one. But maybe a Stephen Robinson, give him it till the end of the season. It's an audition for him. Just go and give him a short-term contract. Celtic give Ange Postecoglou a 1-year deal. Do you know what I mean? We don't need to go out and give managers 4- and 5-year deals because you know what? There's a good chance it might bite you on the arse. Give Robinson it till the end of the season and say, right, go and have a crack. Because one thing's for certain, however well he does, he'll walk straight back into the next available job. My only concern is that Aberdeen potentially might have got in there before us, but they've won today, so potentially that probably solidifies the fact that it's an option for us. But I wouldn't be adverse to that because it is literally anyone but this fella. So there's Heart and Hand just tweeted strong rumours. Martin, he's gone tonight. He's going tonight. I've just seen a notification.
It sounds, I feel like the noise is.
I don't know if anyone can verify that, but
get the shambles out, boys.
Yeah, we'll be back on in half an hour for a bumper special. But no, sorry, but for me, they're kind of the names that are circling about and being mentioned and stuff. So I think, I think it's hopefully an interesting 2 weeks. But that, I mean, it just goes to show all three of us have just smiled at the same time in the hope that we're going to see a little bit of change. Now, I tell you one thing, all of a sudden that Dundee United at home game goes from a 25,000 crowd up to a 50,000 crowd.
Yep.
All of a sudden you go to Branaway, all of a sudden you go to all of these difficult games that you've just mentioned there, and you go, the fans are going to be up for it. It just brings a whole new spin. And it's got to be done before that League Cup final. We cannot go into that League Cup final without a manager having a little run at it. We can't give him it like the week before and then go, right, we'll throw a caretaker in. So yeah, let's just hope that they've got somebody ready and lined up, and we'll see where we go.
Yeah. The chat seems to be that the decision's been made, but it won't be announced tonight. So I wouldn't kind of bank on anything, but it seems like it's, I know.
I thought it was going to be a transfer deadline right there, just refreshing Twitter.
No, not quite. But it's what we want to see. And the one name you didn't say there was Lampard. I know he's doing really like Coventry. I don't know if we could tempt him up, but I know Everton-wise you're not too keen on him. But that's one that I'd be quite, keen on bringing up the way he's going. But we're just about an hour. I think we've kind of chatted that to death, but we could stay on for at least an hour or two, but we'll all go off. We'll go start refreshing Twitter and hoping for some good news tomorrow. I'd imagine we might have a podcast on the back of that one, but we'll stay tuned. By all means, thanks so much for the comments. Been flying in. The views are high. Subscribe, please, if you can. A like on the video always helps as well. But we'll be back at latest on Tuesday night. We'll see how tomorrow goes, but back on Tuesday to continue this chat, and we'll hope to see you all there. Cheers.